Now, the drumbeats of war that have sounded loud in Anambra State necessitated a drastic security measure to ensure peaceful conduct of the November 6th governorship election in the state. In response to the escalating security situation, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has ordered deployment of strategic commanders to the state for effective security during the election. And they include the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Joseph Ebunike, who will coordinate the security arrangements, and he will be assisted by the DIG in charge of operations, Zaki Ahmed. And 5 Assistant Inspectors General of Police, AIGs, 14 Commissioners of Police, 31 Deputy Commissioners of Police, and 48 Assistant Commissioners of Police. And they are to coordinate operations in the 3 senatorial districts, 21 local government areas, and the 5,720 polling units in the state. Well, let's hear from the National Security Advisor, Baba Munguno, and the Inspector General, who assured Anambra people of their safety on election day.
Primarily, our intentions, our aspirations are to see that the elections do not result in anything that is unwanted, any bloodshed, any violence, intimidation, coercion, or even terrorizing the people of Anambra State. It is their fundamental right to vote and choose whoever they want to choose as their governor. They should not be denied that right.
Security is a civil responsibility that we will provide to the people of Anambra to come out and exercise their franchise. And we hope we will do that with all sense of responsibility. And we also urge the people of Anambra to come out in mass and exercise their franchise.
Now, Baba, today, in addition to this deployment of about 33,000 police personnel in Anambra State that is sent to monitor the electoral process, what do you make of this arrangement?
I think that the police management is doing its best to get that message across that it is determined to secure Anambra State during this election. Remember, the IG had earlier announced the deployment of more than 31,000 policemen for the election, police personnel, that's men and women, for the election. So now the job of these senior officers is to coordinate activities, ensure that they provide direction for the 31,000 plus policemen and women that will be on ground. It's not enough to simply pour policemen into Anambra State. They have to be coordinated. There has to be some directing minds that will ensure that, okay, this is where they go, this is how they conduct themselves, and they also have to be supervised, thoroughly supervised, because the job of the policeman is not to support a particular party. Your job is to provide security, maintain the kind of presence that constitutes some form of deterrence to people who would like to foment trouble on election day. They are not even supposed to get too close to the polling centers. No, that one is even against the Electoral Act. They can't get too close to the polling centers to influence what goes on at the polling centers. They just have to be around the area, provide security. Now, this kind of story serves all kinds of purposes. Even the people who want to foment trouble will know the extent to which we are planning to deploy as a country, because even the army will also be physically present The Air Force, maybe Special Forces, the Air Force will also be used. And I know, too, that the civil defense operatives will also be involved. Anambra may turn out to be the most militarized off-season election in our history. And if that happens to be the case, it will not be shocking to any of us, given some of what we have seen in the last few weeks in Anambra State, campaign grounds being stormed in Ihiala, and people being killed for the offense of being present at the rally of one of the major parties in the election. Only ABGA is campaigning publicly in Anambra State. I've never seen that kind of situation. Other parties are even relocating campaigns to outside of the state. And even ABGA that has mustered the courage to campaign, they've also come under some attack. The candidate of ABGA lost 3 of his policemen when they attacked him some months back. And then at the rally in Ihiala, scores of people were killed. So the only way people can feel, I heard the NSA saying people should come out en masse. That's not going to happen in this kind of election. All the telltale signs are there that you are not going to have people come out en masse. There is even no record of people coming out en masse to vote in Nigeria. That's completely against the grain for people to come out en masse. They don't come out en masse to vote in our country. Maybe it's because people don't fully trust the political class, you know, and then even confidence in the process itself has been waning over time. By the time INEC fully commit to organizing credible elections, the fidelity of which we can hold high as Nigerians, maybe more people will begin to show interest. You hear stories that, oh, the election has been decided. No, we are not going to bother ourselves. So it's not a shock that we don't get large turnout. Yes, that won't happen. That wish of the NSA won't happen. What we want to see is let people be able to come out and vote. Peacefully.
Right.
And we can achieve that if our security forces are on the streets and people can see them. They will have some confidence that, look, even if I come out, I'm protected. That's what they should be doing. And as I said yesterday, we have an air wing of the police that needs to be used effectively this time. Let's have their aircraft, their helicopters patrolling the area on election day. Patrolling the area, monitoring what's going on. Not aircraft firing tear gas at voters, aircraft patrolling, so that people can know that on land and on air there is some measure of protection for them. If we can guarantee that people will come out and vote.
Right. Now, Sam, there are concerns that this huge police presence, as it were, will further instigate violence in the southeast and more or less affect the outcome of the elections. How do you see this? What do you make of this?
Well, I think the concern is real, and that would happen if the security operatives who have been assigned to that territory do not apply themselves strictly, to the rules of engagement. If they set out to do their job, I don't see, such fears, coming to pass. But there's a bigger worry, and that worry is that, given, our past history, we have always had a tendency of security operatives who have been assigned to, help manage, the conduct of our elections, turning around to take sides. And if that is the case, or if we get to witness that in the course of the November 6 elections in Anambra State, then we'll have a huge trouble, on our hands. So the advice we want to put out there is that we want to encourage our policemen and other security operatives who will be assigned to Anambra State to conduct themselves, very well, live by the rules of engagement, and then we wouldn't have too much, concerns. Already there's a lot of, there's so much tension. Even the guarantees that we have had listening to, politicians in Anambra State, still don't give us so much hope. I've listened to the Commissioner for Information, and other senior government officials, tell Nigerians that some kind of, conversation is going on between, politicians in the states and members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra. We hope, something tangible come out of these conversations. Only then, and only if we have such public, statement put out by IPOB, because this let's admit it, IPOB has become a very influential, not just group, but a movement. And if the politicians in that state can get them to speak, out concerning the November 6 elections, that would do us a lot of good. The probability that will be done could be very slim. But we know that, some of these things can be resolved, at the political level. So we must admit that there is indeed, serious tension in that area. Just like, as Jide has said, we just hope, the election, the gubernatorial election in Anambra, turns out peaceful. Well, there are concerns that we could have a big problem in our hands. The optics in terms of what government has promised to do is there. Yes, the surge in terms of numbers, over 33,000 men and all that, will be good for you and I who are listening. But what you probably will find at the end of the day is that most of these people will end up probably in the towns where you and I know, but in the rural areas, you won't get to see these, people on ground. And that wouldn't give voters the confidence to want to come out, and cast their votes. So the fear of voter apathy is real. And that is because the trend in the last couple of weeks and months, suggests that it wouldn't be safe for anyone, to take that kind of a risk in an environment where even the government has come to accept that every Monday you sit at home and that children can go to school on Sundays and all that. And even at that, you still have, warnings that people should not, people should keep the Sabbath day holy. I've had such said. So even those who are, making plans to get our children to go to school on weekends, the chances are, given what we hear, are indeed very, very, very slim. So for the optics, it's good the government has said that they will do this. But there are also worries that sometimes the numbers they promise don't get too materialized because it's all for the purpose of just budgeting. We hope that the number that has been promised will indeed be deployed to Anambra State, and that the officers so concerned, will apply themselves, to the task that they've been assigned to, and live by the rules of engagement.
Indeed. Babajide, now, with what has been said so far, what will it take to secure a free and fair election in the Southeast, in Anambra particularly, that seem to be largely under control by the separatist or by the illegal separatist group IPOB?
No, it's not under their control. It's just that they've managed to create a climate of fear in that state, and people are not taking chances. People are not taking chances. Even on Monday, some schools were open in Anambra. Not that that everyone obeys the directive, but most people would not take chances. They would rather sit in their house. Civil disobedience is one of the big strategies that pressure groups use. IPOB as a group has used it effectively, and it is because they also enforce it and they won't mind to take lives in enforcing it. But what we have seen is IPOB says it has revoked the sit at home on Mondays, but cult groups and renegade groups are now taking it upon themselves to simply enforce a directive that IPOB that instituted it in the first place has since revoked. So it's painful. Most struggles usually get hijacked midway. Many struggles even consume their originators. We've seen now that even the struggle that Kanu began, some individuals are giving that struggle a bad name already. Some individuals have hijacked it, because if directive can come from Kanu himself, and some boys will take it upon themselves to simply behave like he has not even spoken, then something is wrong. The other day he was sending word that nobody should disrespect his lawyers. People have been abusing his lawyer, and he's saying, look, these lawyers are doing their best for me. I will not tolerate people insulting my lawyers. That's Kanu speaking. So in this case, as I said yesterday, I know that IPOB, the mainstream IPOB, because Nigerians now see every negative thing happening around there as instigated by IPOB. Yeah. That is not entirely true. IPOB, there are means of reaching IPOB, and there are prominent people in the East that can be used. People like the former governor, Ezife. IPOB still respects people like that. So we hope that reason will prevail, and we will be able to have this election, because the people must choose their leaders. They must choose their leader, and they must be allowed to choose their leaders.
Well, let's hope that things turned out for better for the people in the Southeast. Well, let's